Welcome to another edition of Small Time Nooks, where we explore stories about interesting people and fascinating events from the Big Bang to the 21st century. Many historians look at the passage of time with an appropriate academic gravitas, but this doesn't always allow for the lighter side of humanity to shine through. A few examples that give history a sense of timeless relatability are the graffiti found in Pompeii or the cat that left paw prints on a 15th century Croatian manuscript. In that vein, today's episode follows the exploits of an Edwardian prankster who pulled the wool over the eyes of academics, navy commanders, who outraged the general public and poked fun at politicians and prime ministers. In 1881, William Horace de Vere is born into a wealthy and well-connected Anglo-Irish family in Ireland's County Cork. His father, William, a British Army officer, dies when young Horace Cole is still a child. At 10 years old, Horace permanently loses part of his hearing after battling diphtheria. He is related to poets and politicians through his mother Mary, and he has one sister, Annie. After finishing his education at Eton, Horace joins the army and is wounded during the Second Boer War. Having some idea of his own privilege, he donates his disability pension to the War Widows and Orphans Fund before returning home. The Sultan of Zanzibar. In 1902, Horace goes to college in Cambridge, where he makes friends with Adrian Stephen, brother of Virginia Stephen, later the novelist Virginia Woolf. It is widely reported that the Sultan of Zanzibar is planning a visit to London, and word spreads that the uncle of the Sultan will be paying a visit to their college. At the appointed time and place, the college's officials, along with the mayor of Cambridge, gather to meet the visitors, who get a tour and are treated to a champagne dinner. Soon afterwards, it is revealed that Horace and Adrian had come up with the plan, written the telegram, dressed in Asian clothes, and posed as the uncle and his servant. It might come as no surprise to hear that Horace Cole does not finish his degree. In 1906, a family inheritance sees Horace take ownership of a sizable property in Berkshire. The Dreadnought Hoax. 6 years later, in 1910, Horace is given the secret location of the world's most advanced warship and pride of the British Navy, the HMS Dreadnought. On February the 7th of that year, he enlists his regular co-conspirator Adrian, along with a group of their friends, which includes Adrian's sister Virginia, to join them on another prank. They employ a notable wig and costume maker to create their look with robes and turbans. Virginia is given a false beard, and they all apply black makeup to further hide their British features. Arriving at the dock and brandishing a fake telegram, they trick the commander-in-chief into believing they are an Abyssinian delegation. He immediately agrees to give them a tour of the dreadnought. The crew are ordered to don their full regalia, and the masqueraders are given a 19-gun salute. During the tour, they present officers with fake military honours. The group make a habit of expressing delight by pointing at random naval features and exclaiming "bunga bunga," their own made-up version of Swahili. The impostors are even invited to a full dinner, but fearing their beards might fall off, Horace and the rest of the party decline the invitation. A few days later, the Daily Mail publishes the story of the hoax plus a photograph of the group. This information was probably leaked by Cole himself. Virginia Woolf later reports that when the real emperor of Abyssinia visited London, street boys shouted "bunga bunga" at him as he passed. Once the hoax had been revealed, Horace manages not to be charged with a crime because he has not actually broken any laws. Pranking the public. In 1912, he is unable to finance the upkeep on his family's property, and he sells it to one of his uncles. Horace moves to London, and instead of getting a job, he continues coming up with different ways to upset people. More than once, he shocks pedestrians by walking around the streets with a cow's teeth protruding from the open fly of his trousers. Once enough passers-by notice with outrage, he cuts off the teeth with a pair of scissors. Cole marries 18-year-old Irish heiress Denise Lynch in 1918. On their honeymoon in Venice, a horseless city because of its canal systems, he smuggles a pile of equine manure onto St. Mark's Square. The couple spend the next 10 years living in London and have one daughter, Valerie. Horace is still focused on creating more havoc. He chooses Piccadilly as his next stage. While the specifics have been lost, he either hires workmen or he and his friends dress up as workmen and they begin digging a trench in the busy area, which causes massive traffic chaos. Political pranks. He often aims his jokes at figures in authority he deems as arrogant. For instance, he challenges a former school friend, the newly elected Conservative MP, to a running race along a London street. As they set off, Horace shouts, "Stop thief!" and a nearby policeman arrests his friend because Horace had slipped a gold watch into his pocket before the race began. After he wins the race and explains the joke, the policeman releases the flustered MP. But then Horace starts to wave a stick around, and they're both arrested again. Cole is fined for a breach of the peace. In the 1920s, Horace has grown a tremendous moustache, and the likeness he has to the Labour Prime Minister Ramsay MacDonald becomes even more striking. He uses this resemblance by temporarily stealing the Prime Minister's identity at a Labour event and launching into a fierce, conservative value-laced speech. He has a connection to another statesman, and his sister Annie marries the future Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain. When asked for a quote about his notorious brother-in-law, Chamberlain stated, "I think he must be a little mad." Later years. His marriage to Denise ends in 1928 after Horace loses a large portion of her inheritance in a disastrous land deal. He moves to France and in 1931 marries Mabel Winifred Mary Wright. They have a son, but it is speculated that Cole is not the father. Legacy. In 1936, Horace dies and his body is buried on the family land in Berkshire. An obituary describes him as Old King Cole, Great Britain's #1 practical joker who performed 95 pranks. Cole always claimed the number was higher than 100. Unverified pranks. Some of his tricks have become the stuff of unconfirmed legend. He is meant to have hosted a party where all the guests had the word bottom in their surname. Another possible myth says that he trolled a theatre play which he had found pretentious by purchasing a number of ground floor seats in a row and arranged that they were to be occupied by bald men who he had directed to have an offensive one-word review painted on their head for the patrons above to enjoy. Horace's biographer, Martin Downer, suggests that his prank addiction may be partly due to the trauma of losing his father and the attention seeking from losing his hearing. He also speculates that the reckless and dangerous mood swings implied that Cole may have been bipolar. Either way, Horace Cole made his own inimitable mark on Edwardian society. If he had been alive today, he would probably be filming pranks on YouTube. Thanks for listening to Small Time Nooks. Please check out our other episodes.